On today's
As soon
show,
as I started playing football, I couldn't imagine not playing football. It's really been hard to give it up, but at the end of the day, I think this is what my calling is, and finally finding who I am without football has been really great. So I'm ready to be done, but I'm definitely not gonna take what I got for granted. I'm
sure.
extremely grateful for just even one more game.
Another episode of Kansas Sports Chatter has arrived. It is our statewide high school sports entertainment show streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Cole Reif, and it's a struggle today. We're hurting. We're hurting today. You want to get in shape? Cut down trees. Cut down tree branches. Saw them down. I mean, so hopefully you didn't have any big-time damage from, depending on what part of the state you're living in, from the heavy rain and the heavy winds mostly. And we got a pretty good share of it around this area. A lot of obviously tree branches. So we didn't no damage to the house or anything like that. Everyone's okay, but there was a sizable branch that fell down in the backyard. And I don't have a chainsaw. So we have a couple of like hand saws. And then I have a really old-fashioned Paul Bunyan axe that actually came in handy this weekend. So trying to break down, saw apart that tree branch, like I'm exhausted. Like I'm tired still, like a couple days later. So it's a struggle. We're hurting, but we're going to push through because we got some good guests lined up for today's show. Dan Brown, state championship coach for the St. Thomas Aquinas soccer team this spring. Rickie Peterson with KSHSAA Covered, one of the riders. We'll talk about the state golf championship for Hill City Golf, and then also the undefeated Topeka Hayden soccer season. Chandler Hentzen, he's a recent graduate of Parsons High School, also competing in the Kansas Shrine Bowl this upcoming weekend. We'll talk about his career at Parsons and also what he expects at the Shrine Bowl. Jon Grove with Go Powercat, gopowercat.com, all in K-State athletics. He'll talk about some of his favorite Kansans that play for KSU. And then Daniel Meyers, he's leading the West team, the head coach of the Kansas Shrine Bowl this year. He'll be jumping on the show, talking about what his coaches are getting ready this week as they start implementing in their practices and continue to roll for that game coming up on Saturday in Emporia. We need to thank some sponsors. Barton Community College, always enrolling. Start your next chapter at Barton. Flexible classes, affordable tuition. Also, it is Wheatland Electric, headquarters in Scott City, serving 14 Kansas counties, delivering energy to more than 20,000 Kansas homes. And SPX Video Wall Solutions, any vision, any location, every pixel, perfected at SPX. We'll take a break. When we come back, Dan Brown. Man, high-quality coach of St. Thomas Aquinas, coming off another state championship for the Saints in soccer. Dan Brown joins us next.
Power outages don't wait for a convenient time, and neither should you. Right now is the perfect season to invest in a standby generator from Wheatland Electric Cooperative. With low monthly payments and special financing for co-op members, reliable backup power is more affordable than you think. We'll help you survey, install, and finance a Generac standby generator, all with professional installation you can trust. Protect your home, your comfort, and your peace of mind before the next storm hits. Get a free quote today and make life without power a thing of the past. Visit us online or call us to get started today.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
Another state champion interview here on the show for Kansas Sports Chatter as Dan Brown, head coach of the St. Thomas Aquinas soccer team, coming off that girls state championship this spring. Hey, Coach, appreciate you coming on the show. Congratulations on the title.
Thanks a lot, Cole. Thanks for having me. Honor to come on and talk about the girls and their season.
Yeah, like how have you been able to kind of enjoy these last couple weeks coming off the spring season?
I mean, it's hectic. Since I am in the club world, I don't really get a break because as soon as high school was done, I think my first tryout was the next day. So that I haven't had a lot of time to sit down and enjoy it, but have gotten the chance to hang out with some parents and celebrate and do those type things and kind of reminisce and talk to other coaches around town and just about how special this group was and how great of a year it was to coach them.
Go back to the beginning of the season. Like you talk about the makeup of this year's team. I feel like it was like balanced. Like you had, what was it, 4 seniors and then 4 juniors, but then you had some youngsters in there as well. It just seemed like a really balanced team.
Yeah, it was. And coming out of tryouts, especially here at Aquinas, you're used to having very senior laden teams or upperclassmen laden teams. And after tryouts, I was looking at our makeup and our breakdown. I was discussing it with one of the other coaches in town, and I looked at it. I was like, oh man, I was like, we not only have just the 4 seniors, as you mentioned, but there's only 4 juniors and only 6 sophomores, because 2 of them are keepers, obviously great keepers, but 2 of them are keepers. And then we, something rare for us, we had 4 freshmen that proved that they belonged this year and had great seasons. And just early on, you knew there might be some growing pains, but seeing it after the first week or so of practice, we got an idea with the staff that this group could really be special. And there's already been some comparisons to maybe the group that went 4 straight state titles themselves a few years back, that this freshman group has some excitement, and the team as a whole can keep going.
I think every sport's a little bit different. Every individual is different, but what's it like bringing like those freshmen along? Like, what do you see as a coach and just like, I guess their maturation as a freshman?
Yeah, I don't think they realize it when they come in, the difference that it is between playing maybe their club season and coming in and playing against girls who are 4 years older than them. It takes a special kind of athlete. That's why you don't see it real often here at Aquinas, because our program is very strong, has that reputation of being a strong program. And it's hard to break through as underclassmen. And the 4 girls that we had to start the season, and we even brought a couple more up for the state run from the JV when we expanded the rosters. But, it took them a little bit. We eased them in. I didn't want to throw them in and put too much pressure on them early, but boy, they kind of forced the hand after the first couple weeks of the season, just continuing to perform and show that they belonged. And it really kind of took our team to that next level.
I think in every sport you always hear about, team chemistry, when did that feel really natural for this year's team? Was there a certain point of the season that you felt it?
I was talking to the parents about this. The very first meeting that we had as we break away into team meetings the day after tryouts and go through your goals for the season, it was a big focus of this year's team that we were going to be a team. We were going to do everything together. We were going to have, mass once a week together as a group. We were going to do all the different things that are important to them, and we were going to have a drama-free season. And this group answered that call. They did everything together. They did team dinners a couple times a week. They did the mass. They would have get-togethers at their house and team dinners at houses when, since COVID, that had kind of changed. Team dinners had really been turned into here in the school at the Commons. And this year that kind of started to change. It got back to the way it was maybe pre-COVID, where, hey, a parent's going to host this and everyone's going to go over there. And it was a really tight-knit group. The upperclassmen really were great leaders, welcomed the freshmen in with open arms, because they saw that it was, hey, we're not going to look at them as freshmen. They're our peers. They're going to help make our team better as a whole. And it was a fun season because of that. And the seniors and the upperclassmen truly deserve a lot of the credit with that.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on that, I was reading the article on case you covered and about your team's, one of your team slogans with the one God, one team, one more. How did you guys come about that and kind of explain its true meaning, I guess?
Yeah, so every year we'll get together with the seniors, maybe a captain. We usually do a couple senior captains and then one junior captain, but we'll usually at least get the seniors together and every year and say, hey, what do you want the focus and the motto of this year's team to be? And a lot of times it will be based on what we're going for, maybe at the state at the state title in the state title picture. Like,
Sure.
So this year it was, we need to get back to one. We didn't win last year. So it was when they came to me with the one God, one more, or one team, one more, I was like, I love it. Cause something that was a focus of ours 2 years ago was the phrase Uno Mas, just one more. And they wanted to kind of piggyback on that and make it their own. And they did. And it really, it excelled us. It was game by game. I know that's a kind of cliche that you take everything game by game, but that's truly the focus that they had. And they approached every game like it could be their last. And it just elevated us through the run that we had towards the end of the season and throughout most of the year.
You mentioned, not being able to get to the states for, last year. I mean, I think just kind of speaks to the credits of, where your program is at, like the standards of your program. Like if you don't make it to state, like, you start looking like what was the mood like, I guess, after last year's season and just not getting that opportunity?
Yeah. Every year brings its new, different challenges. One of the things that we were very fortunate with this year that maybe we didn't have that was so fortunate last year was we avoided injury. We had some key players last year, even in the state quarterfinal game where we ended up losing to St. James. Some key players got injured, went down. We had a girl that was coming back off her ACL and really never got back to full strength, really. Before the end of the year that could have helped our team that was a starter on the team the year before. And it was one of those things that if anything could happen, it kind of did. And so they kept battling last year and it just, the cards got stacked too high last year, and St. James was a great team and knocked us off of the perch that, as you said, we anytime we don't make it to that point, we look at it and need to reevaluate and figure out how to get back there the next year. And this year's group, I think there was 3 that were a part on the roster the last time we won it 2 years ago. So it just shows the turnover that we've had the last few years, and this group stepped up to the plate.
Dan Brown, our guest, joining us here on the show, head coach of the St. Thomas Aquinas soccer team, coming off that spring state championship. All right, go to the state tournament, like even the quarterfinal matchup. Take me back to there against DeSoto, able to win that one 3-2. What were some of the key plays in getting over the hump in that match?
So that game in particular kind of is what separated this year's group, maybe. In years past, not even just last year, in years past, if we got down in a game, our mental resolve, we weren't always the best at battling back. When we gave up 2 goals, I think it was in the first 10 or 15 minutes of that game, one definitely in the first 10, and the second one came relatively early. It put us on our heels and was a wake-up call. And the girls battled and there were mistakes made that game that players that normally don't make them made, and at halftime, we had made it back to 2-1, and my point during that halftime speech was, hey guys, let's pick our teammate up. Let's she's got us to this point. She's been one of the ones to help get us here. Something happened that we can't control in a game, and we gotta come back and fight for her just like she would for us. And sure enough, when we tied that game, she was the first one I went over to. It was like a big relief off her shoulders, and
awesome.
Yeah, and we were able to obviously get that third goal to win it. And DeSoto was a very good team, and they battled us, all obviously for the full 80 minutes, and there was a chance that game made it to overtime, and who would have knows what would have happened in that instance. But the girls really persevered. We had some players step up. Angel had a hat trick that game and scored all 3, and I think it was one of those days she wasn't going to let us lose. Most of the season, it was a team, any other game you look at, if we score 4 or 5 goals, we had 4 or 5 goal scorers. There was very rarely that we had someone score 2 or 3 goals. And I think she kind of put her foot down and decided we weren't losing today, because she went to a next level that I think just shows the type of player she is and led us to that victory.
Yeah, impressive performance. Fast forwarding to the title game against Eisenhower, winning that one 5-0, 1-0 at halftime, right?
Yeah, it was 1-0 at halftime. We knew from watching a little film with Eisenhower we were going to be in for a battle. They were a physical team. They were an athletic team, real strong in the back. Goalkeeping was solid. I know there was a big, one of the articles I was reading was a big thing that Coach Downing moved some players around to kind of get them to where the success they were having. And it started with that back line and how good they've been all season, only giving up the 7 goals on the year. And it might have even been 6. I can't remember now, but so few goals on the year. And so we knew we were going to have to really battle and break them down and really bring our A game. And you get to Wichita, one thing you know about Wichita is the wind is going to howl.
Right.
And it was howling in our face the first half. So we were to come out 1-0 into the wind, kind of put some wind behind our sails for that second half, knowing, hey, we just went into the wind and we're coming out with a lead. You look at it, you look back on it, hey, if you can get out of the first half 0-0 and level, then when you have the wind, it's going to be an advantage for you. And the fact that we were able to get that moderately, it was somewhat early, I think mid first half maybe, when we got that first goal and again, took a load off and let us sit back and kind of let the game come to us and really explode in that second half.
St. Thomas Aquinas head coach for the soccer team, Dan Brown, joining us. You mentioned the wind, and I've had a few other soccer coaches on, kind of just, what it means to play in the wind for a variety of sports. But for soccer, like, what are some of the key things, like, especially when you're going against that wind, that have a factor on the game?
Yep. So we this year really had a lot of success playing into the wind. And I think that reads to the style that we play. So we try and keep short passes, keep possession, break lines, do those simple things, and maybe not play quite so direct up over the top where if you're hitting those balls up into that wind, it's just hanging up there in the wind and kind of coming back in your face and making it difficult. So I think our style of play helps in that scenario. We would play games at home with the wind at our back where we look terrible with the wind at our back because we're trying to play these through balls, and the wind in soccer, if it's blowing like it does in Kansas, it's blowing straight out of bounds when you're playing through those channels, even if it's on the ground. So it was really a thing where our style of play benefits it, but that's the biggest thing. If you have a direct style or you're somebody, a team that likes to play up over the top, maybe you have some, forwards with some pace that can get behind and you just want to throw it in behind it can be difficult both ways. But yeah, we tended to have some success into the wind this year that kind of speaks to how the team played.
For you, I mean, what does it mean just to be at Aquinas? You talk about the tradition that it's had before you arrived, and now you have continued that tradition. And, even a guy like Craig Ewing and what he meant to Aquinas for soccer as well. How special is it just to be there at St. Thomas Aquinas?
I mean, it's a privilege. Obviously, I was at helping at Shawnee Mission South before this job opened up, and I took it. And I had always said when I was at South, I wasn't unhappy in the role I was there. I was just the varsity assistant for Caroline Ewing there, and I was I had always said that there were a couple jobs that I would be interested in. One, following my former coach Hare, who was at Olathe East at that time, that I would be interested in that job, and I would be interested in the Aquinas job if it ever opened up. And when it did, I put my name in the hat, and just fortunate enough to get it. I mean, it's the level of players that come here is exceptional, and it's always fun to coach kids who are committed and driven and want to play at the next level, and that's kind of how our program runs. We have a lot of solid players who end up not even ever making varsity just because it's such a well-established program.
Yeah.
And the level of play is amazing.
How much fun is it just following, former players? I mean, and kind of seeing like their success at the next level?
Yeah, it's fun. As you mentioned that, I still get to coach a lot of them. My club, Union KC, has WPSL, which is the kind of the college league that they come back and they play for. And in their college days, our club provides that. We're one of the only clubs in town that does. And so a lot of these girls will come back, and I still get to see them and coach them and follow them at the next level. And then, even the ones that don't, who maybe are playing for current two, like a Sydney Watts, following her and seeing she was up for the women's soccer player of the year this year in the NCAA, and getting to follow the former Saints is a lot of fun, and sharing them still on X and showing what the program means and the players that have been here before. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, Coach, appreciate the time and congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, Cole.
That is Dan Brown, head coach of the St. Thomas Aquinas soccer team. We'll have more of the show right after this. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Time to roll into story time here on Kansas Sports Chatter as Rickie Peterson joins us now, one of the staff writers for Acacia Covered. Their work can always be found at acaciacovered.com. This summer, has it officially started for you to get a little relaxation?
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit of downtime. This is just kind of when we get caught up on some of the photo galleries. Maybe we didn't get up during the season, and pretty soon we'll start gearing up for players to watch. But yeah, a little bit of downtime. Yeah, it's nice because I know the rest of the staff really needs it too, because it was a busy final week for sure.
You mentioned those photo galleries. Like how many photos are you taking? Like when you go to some of these events?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know, several hundred at least. I am by no means an expert photographer, so there's plenty of them that don't get used. But yeah, we try to get a photo gallery up from each state event at some point. I know we're behind on a few, but yeah, that's definitely it's definitely cool to capture those moments, especially the celebration shots and stuff like that. But yeah, I still got a long ways to go to become serviceable. So.
Look good on my end. All right, so you're able to cover the Topeka Hayden it's girls soccer team that went undefeated, and you look at. Anytime you go undefeated is great, Rickie, but you look at their schedule to go 21-0 with their schedule. That was an impressive feat.
Yeah, and it was something that was Coach Klaus Kreutzer said was never really on their radar at all. With they had to go through the defending champs from last year in Washburn Rural in the regular season, and then you would think. What's crazy about this is, I would say Hayden's been the heavy favorite all along, which is kind of something to say when you got the 9-time defending champs out there in Bishop Myears. But Hayden beat Myears 5-0 early in the season, and from that point on, it just seemed like they were the heavy favorite all the way through. That they were the team to beat, and then once you get into the postseason, you got to start feeling a little bit of pressure, I would think. Especially, you have to go through Myears again in the semifinals. And that's a really tough win for them to get a 1-goal win over Myears. And then you kind of worry about just how you have to respond to that. That's such an emotional high. And it's like, yeah, then we got to come back and play a good Rose Hill team in the final. And, if that's not enough, they kind of get one little last curveball thrown in there, and that's that they have to play indoors for the title game. So, a lot of stuff to have to deal with, even though they were the heavy favorite. And, in that game in particular, they really control the possession in the first half. They get a lot of really good looks. But they don't score. So then that kind of adds a little bit more. Carson Brockstrom, their leader, said, yeah, we were starting to get a little frustrated there. And Coach Kreutzer kind of calmed them down. And then I think it was big for them to score right out of the gate second half. They scored 25 seconds into the second half with Carson Brockstrom scoring off a nice pass from Avery Becker. And then, it was all about just kind of holding off a really talented Rose Hill team down the stretch. They were getting a lot of opportunities. Their coach said, we felt like we were going to get one, and Hayden did a good job of just not making a big mistake and just being solid in the back line. And yeah, what a year for that team to be able to go through undefeated and like I said, really handle every challenge that kind of went their direction.
I mean, you look at some of their numbers in your article, you mentioned they outscored opponents 96-9. I mean, this year, like if you're an opponent taking on Hayden, like that's got to be intimidating knowing that like your chances of scoring are pretty slim.
Yeah, your chances are slim, and just all the weapons they have offensively. You know, they have plenty. Carson Broxterman is their go-to player, but Emma Slider, the freshman, was a huge player for them this year. She really gave them a boost. And then, you know, the people that are kind of unsung a little bit are their goalkeepers because they split their time. So they each, that's Caden Watson and Lauren Bergeron. They each play a half. And so, you know, when it comes to all-state soccer and stuff, that's a little tough for them because they don't get recognized, but they're both really good all-state caliber goalies, and they've been huge. Just the unselfishness they've shown, you know, to kind of embrace that they're both going to play a half, and that they're both going to be really, really solid in the net. So yeah, I mean, it's just a team that didn't really, you know, from what I saw out of them, just a team that didn't really have a lot of weaknesses. And then of course it helps having a coach that's you know, a really, really great coach, and Klaus Kreutzer, who's kind of a stoic figure, and I think that helped, you know, him when they were in a tight game in the state championship, just to kind of have that stoic presence, kind of calm the nerves a little bit. But you know, like I said, they just seemed like they were a team that was on a mission the whole year, and believe only one of maybe 3 teams, I believe, to ever go undefeated and on the girls' side. So yeah, just an incredible accomplishment for that team.
Talk with Rickie Peterson with KSHSAA Covered. Check out their work at KSHSAAcovered.com. Able to cover Hill City. How about the Ringnecks able to bring home a state title? It had been nearly 3 decades, as you mentioned. It was kind of cool to see their golf team win a state title.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, the thing about that team is they're so consistent and they're so deep. You know, and Coach Don Newell just said their top 6 golfers are so close together. So he thought, you know, even though I think most people would say South Gray was probably the favorite heading into that 1A tournament at Turkey Creek. You know, they have Gavin Wall, who ended up winning three individual state championships in a row, and some Daxton Hendrickson and some other really good players. But you know, Coach Newell thought if they could just be within striking distance after day one, they were going to have a chance because of that depth. You know, if it's going to be rare for all of them to have off days on the same time. You know, if a couple of them have an off day, they're going to have some kids step up. And yeah, that was really cool to see. You know, that second day, it was a little bit tougher. They kind of they set up the course a little bit more difficult than the first day, and Hill City was just solid all the way through. They end up going 310 on the first day, and then 318 on the second day, and that was 14 shots better than South Gray, who kind of slipped up a little bit in the second game. But yeah, Kinley Gugelman, AJ Degis, and Chase Bell, they were all top 20 medalists. Gugelman led him with 75 and 72 for 147, and he tied for third. Degis was 7th. Bell was tied for 17th. And then, yeah, I mean, like I said, the depth was the difference. Mitchell Haynes, Tate Balthasar, Case Haynes, those are all really, really solid golfers. And, you know, it's always cool when you could see a team kind of end a long state title drought. They hadn't won in any sport since 1998 when the basketball team won a state title under Keith Riley. So I know that meant a lot to the community to see them break through, and you know, they did it with a total team effort.
Hey, Rickie, appreciate the time, and good luck going through your hundreds of photos for the galleries. All right.
Sounds good. It's going to take a bit, but we'll get them up eventually.
All right, I'll be waiting. That's Rickie Peterson with KSHSAA Covered. You can check out their work at KSHSAAcovered.com. It's time to welcome in our next guest on the show, and that is going to be Chandler Hentzen. He is a recent graduate from Parsons High School and a part of the Kansas Shrine Bowl. They'll be playing for the East Side. That'll be coming up June 27th in Emporia. Hey, Chandler, appreciate your time and coming on the show as a high school grad. How does it feel?
It's good. I was excited to get it done. I graduated at Christmas, so finally getting to walk the stage and accomplish everything I did in high school was nice. Really getting to celebrate all that.
What goes into, graduating early? You talk about being done at, last semester. Like, how did you get that pulled off?
I just picked up a couple extra courses. Ever since freshman year, I've been like a grade above, so I was just taking more college classes my senior year.
What'd you do with your spring semester? Like, how did you treat it?
I started working for a roofing company and just really made a whole lot of money doing that.
So for you, and you mentioned like trying to stay in shape for the Kansas Shrine Bowl coming up on the 27th, like how different is it as compared to, other summers?
It's a lot different, not having the obligation to go to weights. I leave for the Army in August, so I've been really trying to cut down rather than bulk up like I usually have been. During football, I play at 205 to 210, and just being down to like 180, 175, it's a lot different.
Is that one of those things even when you were in season as a freshman, sophomore, or junior, can you just flip the switch? Like, okay, hey, it's football time. I'm just going to go into football mode. Like, how easy is it just to flip that switch?
Yeah, it's been always pretty easy. I've always had a little bit of a switch, I guess, to where I can just lock in and start stacking weight, start stacking muscle really quick. So it's been pretty easy for me.
What was your reaction when you found out you were selected to participate in the Shrine Bowl?
I was extremely excited. I got to watch my older brother Caleb play when I was younger, and I've looked forward to it all the way through high school. Just even having the chance, and I'm just extremely grateful, even being considered one of the top prospects in Kansas to play in the game.
Did you have any idea? Like, were you watching the selection show with any hunch?
Yeah, we were watching it, and right before I got selected, one of my best friends from Labette County I grew up with, and Michael, got it selected, and I was beyond excited for him, texting him and whatnot. And then I congratulated a couple guys from the Southeast Kansas area, like Clayton Adamson, and just texting other guys and hearing my name. I was just overwhelmed with excitement.
Take me through your background, because you didn't start out growing up in Parsons, did you? But somewhere in Southeast?
Yes, sir. I grew up here in Parsons. I went to school here from like preschool to about fifth grade. I grew up playing soccer and just wrestling and baseball. My brother was pretty good at baseball, so I kind of just followed in the footsteps there. And then my mom remarried to my stepdad Mike, and we moved out to Labette County. And I've never played football before, but my stepbrother Carter he played, and Caleb played, and Noah was playing at the time. So it just kind of fell in, and I happened to end up being pretty good at it.
So yeah, you fall into football. Like, I mean, what was the learning curve like, especially those early days, just trying to figure out the sport?
Yeah, like I said, I played soccer, so I've always kind of had a bigger frame and always been pretty quick. So they threw me in the backfield real quick at running back, and I kind of just took off from there. I really liked running back a lot growing up, and never really had to play much defense until middle school, and then getting to play linebacker and safety in middle school really showed me how much I liked football.
So switching over and getting some playing time on the defensive side of the ball, like what was that experience like for you?
It was great. I had a great middle school coach, Coach Royer. He really helped me a lot, learning how to tackle, and he also coached wrestling, so he helped me really develop the double leg and how to do it in football. And we didn't lose a single game in middle school. I played for Labette County, and it was awesome. After that, those highs in football make you really not take advantage or take it for granted what you did have.
Chandler Hentzen joining us here at Parsons High School, be participating in the Kansas Shrine Bowl coming up on June 27th. Your senior year, especially as that star running back, taking on that role, like what did you do just even to kind of increase your leadership?
I feel like I've always been a pretty solid leader. Cade Brown, Trey Mack, my sophomore year, transferring to Parsons from Labette County. They really showed me what it's like to be a leader that year. So after my sophomore year, I was kind of like the leader on the team, and I just took what I learned and from junior year leading into senior year and learn how to be an even better leader.
That game in your career, what was it? 5 touchdowns, school records in the single game, and then you had 400 plus yards rushing in that game. Like, what do you remember from that game that was working so well? Obviously, your offensive line was doing its job, but like, what was working so well for you?
Really having a receiver that like Wyatt Schultz, that it's not a very big dude, but you better fear him. You throwing that safety over the top of him really opened up a lot for me, and then they'd bring that safety back over the top, and he didn't want to tackle me. And then we'd throw the ball to Wyatt. He'd get a big run going for us, and then have to bring that safety back over. It just opened a lot up for me. It was a great execution by the coaches, great execution by the O-line. Our quarterback had a great game. It was just great all the way around.
Any other highlights that stand out from your career, Chandler?
My sophomore year, I added quite a few tackles. Got to be on one of the best Parsons teams we've ever had. That was probably my favorite year of high school.
For you, like now going forward into the Shrine Bowl, like how much prep are you doing for this? You mentioned trying to get into shape, but even just as far as preparation of what the scheme is for the East Side and who you're going to be playing.
Yeah, having a coach that's only 10 minutes down the road, it helps a lot. Coach Argbright, he's been great helping all of us local kids, stay in touch with what's going on and realizing what offenses we're running. So just being in contact with him and some of the other guys around here, it's really we're going to run a defense I'm really familiar with. So I think I'll be able to really dominate there and stay on top of everything. I think the East Side's going to be really great this year. We got a great group of guys, and just even from Southeast Kansas, it's going to make a huge impact, and hopefully we can just dominate over the West.
Going into that, and like you mentioned, enlisting into the Army and like knowing that like it's your final football game, like does that thought kind of cross your mind?
Yeah, growing up, as soon as I started playing football, I couldn't imagine not playing football. It's really been hard to give it up, but at the end of the day, I think this is what my calling is, and I've finally finding who I am without football has been really great. So I'm ready to be done, but I'm definitely not gonna take what I got for granted. I'm extremely grateful for just even one more game.
What went into your thought process in wanting to enlist in the Army? Like, what inspired that for you?
Ever since I was young, I just think those guys have always been super cool. I mean, I don't think there's anything you can do more American, more honorable than serve for your country. So it's just always something I've wanted to do, and I'm blessed to be a healthy young man to the point where I can go serve. Hey,
Chandler, appreciate your time. Heck of a career, and have fun at the Shrine Bowl.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
That is Chandler Hentzen, a member of the Parsons High School football team, and like we said, participating in that Shrine Bowl coming up in Emporia on June 27th. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on the show. It is time now to bring in our next guest. And for high school fans and K-State fans, like this is going to be just a true pleasure because we're going to mix in both. Jon Grove joins us now, staff writer for Go Powercat. You can check out the work at gopowercat.com among many other journalistic duties that you have. But hey, Jon, appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey man, it's a pleasure to be here as always, and I'm ready to talk as much Kansas sports, Kansas players. I'm ready for it, man. I'm looking forward to it.
You were telling me you've been in Manhattan, 20 plus years?
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh, I don't enjoy talking about my age or how long I spent at a place, but as far as my high school days go, I finished with the we had like some kind of high school seminar, like a little banquet for our high school journalism class, and they had one of the senior awards dedicated to most likely to stay in Manhattan for a very long time, and I just so happened to win that. So Of course. Yeah, no, it's been a fun 23 years in Manhattan, and especially now getting to get more into the journalism realm, covering K-State sports a little bit, and as well as some high school sports on the side too.
That passion for K-State. I mean, obviously, it shows like any of your writings. If people, have read it either through the Mercury or Go Powercat, like where did that passion come from, and just how much has it kind of fueled you in your job?
Well, it all goes back to family roots, man. My dad was a former volleyball assistant at Kansas State under head coach Susie Fritz. So he got the gig back in 1997. He spent about 3 years there as kind of the third assistant on the staff. And then he took about a few years off and decided to go to Lawrence for a little bit there. Now, he didn't coach over there because that'd be one of the worst kept secrets ever. But that's when I was born. I was full disclosure, I was born in Lawrence, and then 30 days later we moved back to Manhattan because he just so happened to get an assistant gig at K-State. So yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind, and he spent about give or take 18 to 20, 23 years or something like that. I can't keep track. You know how it is, Cole. I mean, we're in broadcasting for narration aspects, not for we leave it to the color guys for statistics and everything like that. So yeah, no, around that realm. But as far as where the K-State origins come from, my dad was been a great volleyball coach throughout these past few years. Now he's an assistant at Emporia State too. So a lot of great Kansas roots that are still around the Flint Hills area, the Flint Hills region, and it's allowed me to keep in touch with this university, and getting to go to school there has certainly been a blessing too.
Yeah, I just know how to turn the microphone on. I let experts like you, fill us in with all the knowledge.
Man, I'm far from that, man. I'm way far from that.
No, that's why we got you on the show. So, like, you talk about like Go Powercat, and like I said, gopowercat.com. Like, let's talk about some of the services and just some of the articles and even podcasts that you guys put out.
Yeah, no, so we got a whole lot of things going on Go Powercat. Even during the off season, we're still able to create a lot of opportunities with some content. And I think for those who are listening as well on YouTube or any podcast, the first voice you'll listen to most of the time is Tim Fitzgerald. And he has certainly been the main flagship in a way as far as the K-State content goes, with his daily deliveries, the podcast once or twice a week, it feels as if. He's been a mainstay. He's been a mainstay. Doing some more podcasts on the side as far as where he goes now. A lot of the article writing currently is towards the younger guys such as Ryan Gilbert, Cole Carmody, and myself. And it's been fun. We had a great community on our message boards, and we always get to chat it up what's going on. I mean, we even have an off-topic subjects like the FIFA World Cup all of a sudden. I don't know what brought that up, but we created some good, fun banter out of that too. So, And then as far as what I'm writing at the moment, we're currently seeing some visitors on campus for 2027, 2028 prospects. Nice. So we're getting a chance to catch up with them and writing some good pieces as well that should catch a lot of K-State fans' attentions for sure.
All right, so I wanted to discuss like favorites K-State players, whether it's past, presents that are from Kansas, that went to a high school from Kansas. Starting out, I mean, even for the football team, some of the current ones, obviously, I if Avery's up there as far as getting hyped up, but who are some of the ones that stand out to you that have good stories?
Well, I'll tell you what, if we're just talking about this year's team, we could really start things up with one of the top prospects as far as the state of Kansas goes, and Lincoln Cure, right? I think personally it's going to be a big season coming up for him. And first and foremost, I got to give a lot of credit to Jeremy Jacobs, the director of strength and conditioning, or some title like that. But he deserves a raise. The way he has had these players add size. I mean, they've completely transformed their bodies, and they look surreal based on the appearances that we've seen so far in press conferences. And as far as Lincoln Cure goes, I mean, he looked like he finished last season looking like a 19-year-old. And then he showed up during the press conferences looking like an NFL prospect with
Nice.
a mortgage, 3 kids, and something to prove, or something along those lines. No, I mean, Colin Klein pointed him out as the guy with the biggest muscle gain and fat loss on the team, which is wild to think because we all thought there wasn't much fat to lose in the first place. Remember, this is a high-level athlete that was rated high in football, who stayed in Goodland throughout spring for basketball and track season. So he missed that first round of college conditioning. And when he arrived, I mean, a lot of us in the media already thought he was solid enough. I mean, whether it's just functional, athletic, but he just looks completely different. He's a lot more bulked up, a lot more built up. And maybe by college football standards, that's more of a trim than we realize. But I think all that aside, frankly, I think getting the spring reps this year has certainly been quite paramount and very essential for him. And I think even frankly enough as well, the tight end room with the limited numbers that they had at several of those practices, was especially with a guy like Garrett Oakley seeing some limited action. So that really does open the door for a guy like Lincoln Cure and even another Kansas guy, Will Ancio, to stack up some reps, develop, and start carving some roles out as real offensive threats in multiple ways.
You talk about these Kansan guys, these Kansans on the team, like, especially as a guy that covers these athletic departments, like, how much fun is it? Like, I mean, if K-State has success, I mean, it's fun in general, but I don't know, it seems like it's even more fun being a Kansan, seeing some of those high school guys have success from the state. Yeah, no, absolutely. And let's keep in mind, historically enough, this has been kind of an under the radar state when it comes to recruiting pipelines and all that stuff. Usually when it comes to in-state recruiting, the real gem, the real diamond under the rough kind of guys usually go to the JUCO prospects, and where you're able to see like the Hutch JUCO guys, the Butler JUCO guys. Those are the ones that really stuck out back in the Bill Snyder days when it came to recruiting several of those JUCO prospects. Those were the guys that had the chip on their shoulder, the guys that were truly playing for something. When they were overlooked by several other schools, they get the opportunity to play for one of the greatest coaches in college football and really build a program up. But I also say that knowing that the state of Kansas in recent years has really been, a state that's beginning to emerge as a pipeline of sorts just for recruiting and high school development in general. And I think the recruiting, the recruiting class for, I can't put my finger on it. I think it was 2023 when Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards, those kind of guys, Wesley Fair were coming out of the recruitment ranks. I mean, we were just seeing prospects like that going, this state might have something going. We're starting to see more prospects coming out of Kansas City, Wichita, even Western Kansas with Lincoln Cure. I mean, just some more guys beginning to develop and taking that next step in their careers. And especially for a school like K-State, they have proven, whether you're in Bill Snyder years, whether you're in the Chris Kleiman years, if you're able to get into that program, they're going to develop you the right way. And chances are your career is going to skyrocket to that next level. Hey, John, appreciate the insights and keep up the good work. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Take care. That is Jon Grove with Go Powercat. Check out their work at gopowercat.com.
Referees and game officials are a vital part of high school athletics. These men and women take time out of their lives to ensure a safe and fair environment for student athletes. As you attend sporting events this year, keep in mind the hard work and dedication of the officials. Respecting officials and authority figures is one of the most valuable lessons that we can teach our students. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who take the time to officiate our competitions.
Shrine Bowl, man, it's just days away right now for the Kansas Shrine Bowl coming up on the 27th in Emporia, the East versus the West. Long time tradition for the Kansas Shrine Bowl. And that is one of the reasons why we bring in Daniel Myears, who is going to be the head coach of the West team for the Kansas Shrine Bowl this year, but also serves as Mulvane football's coach. Brought you in to talk Shrine Bowl, but you're also one of the assistant coaches for the baseball team for Mulvane. Coming off that state title in Class 4A this year, Coach, congratulations.
Hey, thanks. That was a lot of fun. Again, just a memory I will never forget. Me and Coach Nelson and Coach Deeker have been together for a really long time on that staff, and Coach Johnson came on this year, and just kind of a surreal thing that we've been doing it 20 plus years, and finally to get one felt amazing, and again, just something I will never ever forget.
How easy is it for you as a coach just to kind of flip the switch? All right, you're doing baseball. You mentioned you're participating in the All-Star game, and then, then Shrine Bowl turns around, they're right around the corner as well. Like, how easy is it for you just to kind of transition?
Well, I mean, for me personally, I just try to compartmentalize things. And hey, this is baseball day. I do this today. And today my day is, well, again, I know this is airing, post, but I'm doing laundry to pack for the Shrine Bowl for camp and stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of, go day by day, just like everybody else does. And just, again, having experience in both baseball and football, and, having a little bit of, Shrine Bowl experience as well. Just, I can kind of know what to expect going in. So I feel like I can just, like I said, baseball today, football tomorrow, Shrine Bowl the next day, and just keep rolling with it. So
at this time, I know we had you on last fall when they announced the head coaches for the Shrine Bowl, and you and Mike Berg, but and that was when you were just thinking about what the rosters would be. Now you got your rosters, right after Christmas, and then, you're starting to put those pieces together. Does the puzzle, does it look complete as you put all those pieces together? You feel you have a pretty good idea?
So whenever we put that plan in place and the coaches met, and we kind of went through the process, and we feel like we, know who our kind of our 22 offensive guys are and our 22 defensive guys. But from what I learned last year is, change will happen, during the week. And there may be somebody that we feel like is maybe a wide receiver that we need to move to defensive back, or an offensive lineman that needs to move to the defensive line. So there'll still be some, fluid movement, I think, in those first few days, especially as we learn the guys and they learn us, and kind of who's going to fit best in systems. I mean, a plan in place, but again, those things are always, meant to be adjusted. So.
Well, from your experience, even as an assistant coach, how easy is it for those guys when they first arrive to just kind of settle in and kind of get acclimated?
Yeah. So again, just making them feel welcome is a huge thing. And, valuing what their skill set is. And obviously these kids that we're going to be dealing with are the best in the state. I think, overall, and my numbers might be a little off, but there were over 350 kids nominated to play in the Shrine Bowl, and only 88 of those kids on the east and the west side get that opportunity. So we kind of got to pick what we wanted. There's some stipulations that we have to play within as well. Sure. But they're the top guys that we could get. So we're super excited to let them, kind of let their light shine and do the things that they do the best for our squads.
When you look at, the quarterback position, at least on the roster, with your guy, Manny Myears, and then, Daxon Minton from Great Bend, in an all-star game, do you ride that hot hand as much as possible, or what's kind of your philosophy, or equal playing time? What's your philosophy?
Well, I'd love to say equal playing time, but, we also know that, sometimes the flow of the game, maybe one person's in that flow better than the other. And I'm not going to take anything away from either kid, because they're both tremendous athletes and are going to be tremendous assets to our team. But I'd feel like kind of, just the flow will dictate that to us a little bit. And, I'm even, as I mentioned earlier, with just kind of doing stuff around the house today, watching last year's game. And, we ran with 3 quarterbacks last year. And so kind of just watching, and I was like, oh yeah, kind of forgot we did that. But, watching, Eli from Norton come in and do his specialized thing, and Haslam from Manhattan do his thing. And then, it just was kind of, for me, when I was calling those plays, just was like, all right, what do we need, and which quarterback gives us the best opportunity to be successful in that situation? And that's kind of the way we went. And they all 3 were like, whatever you need, coach. You need me to run it, you need me to throw it, I got you. So that was awesome. And I'm sure that'll happen with Dax and Manny as well.
You mentioned watching last year's game, and we were talking to Mike Berg. It was like, well, how much scouting do you do? And is it impossible, like when you're trying to scout like the other side? So he was talking about, exchanging film and like maybe watching like, whatever your coordinator's offense is. So like, how much do you do that for the East side and just like trying to anticipate what they are going to run?
Yeah, we did that same thing too. Exchanged a couple games, got a little bit of film. And so, Aaron Beck on the offensive side kind of watched a little bit and has an idea of going forward. And then same with Coach Holting from Pratt, again, just to have some type of a game plan. And, watching through that first half today of last year's game, both teams just kind of were feeling each other out the entire time. Obviously the wind was a big factor in that game as well. But, that first half, not that both offenses were bad, just, it just was a deal where they took us a second to kind of, sorry, my dog's barking.
No, you're good. He's busy.
It took us a second to kind of just, learn what the defense was trying to do to us and then make adjustments and go from there. So, it's always a game of adjustments as you go through in any type of all-star game, and the defense will always probably be a little bit ahead. Gosh darn, Benny is happy back there.
Getting after it.
The defenses are always probably a little bit ahead. So I anticipate the same thing happening this year, and just kind of understanding that, there's going to be a learning curve, and we'll just try to, do the best we can early on and hopefully be able to get them stopped on offense and, put a score or two on defense. All right. I'm going to tell Benny to hush.
All right, Benny.
Benny, come here.
Yeah, Benny wants to join the interview. That's fine.
Well, one dog is on the couch and he can't get up on the couch, so he's mad.
He's getting jealous. Okay. Yeah,
100%.
I understand that. Well, you talk about, we mentioned, like the purpose of this week and, the bigger purpose, I guess, last time we talked to you, like, what is that week like? I mean, obviously there's a lot of focus on the game itself, but just like your typical schedule as a coach and a player during that week.
Yeah, so we'll practice a couple times each day. I think there's a couple days that we're going to, have a few shorter practices and do 3, just because there is a lot to get installed. Obviously, everybody thinks about just your offensive scheme or your defensive scheme, but you also have to put together your special teams, because again, they will play a huge part in the game, whether you're getting a kick blocked or a point after, so, you have to pay great attention to them as well and give them equal attention. So some of those practices that, I've told the kids, I've talked to them, I said, don't freak out about, going 3 times, a lot of it's install. Some of it, we'll be aware of kind of your legs and, trying to get you to that game on Saturday. So there's a lot of, again, moving pieces and a lot of things we really have to think about to be prepared on. And, I think, going forwards, we've talked enough through text messages and meetings that we've had that we like our plan. And again, just hopefully the weather holds out. I was looking at that a little bit. It's supposed to be in the 80s most of the week next week. So that'll be good for the kids as well. And then, moving forward to get to that, as we get done in Hutch, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but when we get done in Hutch on Thursday, when we move to Emporia, there's not a bunch of practice stuff that happens at Emporia. I think we have a chance to have 2 walkthroughs, basically one on Thursday and then one on Friday. But a lot of it is, our hospital experience, which is, awfully moving. And, like you said, the real purpose of this game is so that our players kind of understand why we're doing this, so I think that's a huge thing. We have an FCA luncheon on Friday, which is fantastic. And then we have a fan fest on Friday evening. So there'll be a lot of other things that take our attention away from football, but I, fully expect our preparations will go hopefully as planned, and then our kids will be ready to get on that field Saturday evening.
Coach, appreciate the time and have fun this week.
Hey, you bet. Sorry that Benny was a disruption for you today there, and we'll have a great time, and hope to see you all on Saturday in Emporia.
Providing some entertainment. That's Daniel Myeers, head coach of Mulvane High School football, and also serving as the head coach of the Kansas Shrine Bowl West team. That Shrine Bowl this Saturday coming up in Emporia. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. Hey, if you're enjoying the content and you're listening on Facebook or watching on Twitter or X, make sure you go over to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe there, help out the channel. And also, make sure you follow us on social media if you haven't already. Hey, that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks to more of our sponsors, Eastus Media, the voice of the Pratt High Greenbacks, delivering big-time coverage of small-town sports. Also, Meyers Enterprises, stand out from the noise. Grow your business with marketing from Meyers Enterprises. I got all your digital marketing app covered for you with Meyers Enterprises. That's going to do it for today's show. Big thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks to all of our guests as we continue to push through these summer months. And man, exciting time, just kind of rehashing some of the spring sports, but also previewing some things coming up this summer, including the Kansas Shrine Bowl. We'll have more of those Shrine Bowl guests coming up on Thursday's show. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day.